All right. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
can you-
I think that was it, actually.
Can you hear us now, Tim?
Yes.
Oh, boy, do we have an echo.
Yep.
So Tim, we are voting on the,
I think we're good now.
are we okay now?
Good now.
Okay, so go ahead,
With,
Pastor Spriggs, for the voting. Ask for Tim. Vote for
Okay.
chairperson. for
okay,
Dylan.
gotcha. Testing, can you hear? Okay. Eileen Delaney,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pintar,
Yes.
Pastor Robert Spriggs Jr., yes. Andrew Hayes,
Yes.
Dr. Arlie Brown,
Yes.
Bonnie King,
Yes.
Ariana Federico Mondragon,
Yes.
and Tim Ware.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Chair for next year will be Delaney. All right, second one is vice chair. Mary Ann Pintar.
Okay. Eileen Delaney,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pintar,
Yes.
Pastor Robert Spriggs Jr. is a yes. Andrew Hayes,
Yes.
Dr. Arlie Brown,
Yes.
Bonnie King,
Yes.
Ariana Federico Mondragon,
Yes.
and Tim Ware.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And the last is secretary Bonnie King.
Okay. Eileen Delaney,
Yes.
Mary Ann Pintar,
Yes.
Pastor Robert Spriggs Jr., yes. Andrew Hayes,
Yes.
Dr. Arlie Brown,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Bonnie King,
Yes.
Ariana Federico Mondragon,
Yes.
and Tim Ware.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, congratulations. Thank you. And I would like to thank Pastor Spriggs for your 2 years of service as our secretary. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. Next is an update on SB 519. I'll turn it.
May you go back to Mr. Ware in reference to the 18 and why he's remote?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Ware, could you please let us know why you are attending remotely?
I had a conflict with another meeting at the same time of this meeting. Extra half hour. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's why I couldn't make it over there.
Are there anyone over the age of 18 where you are right now
No,
in the room?
no.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for reminding me.
Mr. Bennett, is that permissible? You're muted, sir.
Honorable Chair and members of the board, the new provision of the Brown Act, Government Code Section 54956F, allows a member to appear remotely under certain specified conditions, which are defined as just cause. And just cause is defined as childcare or caregiving needed of a specified person's contagious illness, need related to physical or mental disability, or travel on official business or governmental agency business. The good cause standard is very, very narrowly restrictive. If there's a family emergency, et cetera, or if there is an emergency, but general attendance or a conflict in a meeting does not appear to satisfy the just cause standard. I don't know if Mr. Ware, Commissioner Ware, is there anything else or any other reasons why you're not in attendance or you need to appear remotely?
Well, I had already committed to do something for the family. And this meeting came up, so I totally forgot about that. That's it. That's it. I chose family over coming to that meeting. I'm satisfied with that.
I would, yeah. So, Honorable Chair, can I ask if you have a quorum without Mr. Ware?
Yes, we do have a quorum without Mr. Ware.
Okay.
And I want to thank him for at least trying to handle 2 meetings at the same time. Just so that the rest of the board knows, if you're ill, that is an excuse as well. But under these circumstances, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tim. We're going to miss you.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, team.
Take care. We'll
Have a
see you
good
in
evening.
July.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Ware.
Okay.
So Honorable Chair, could I just say one other thing?
Yes,
You all
sir.
you all have taken some votes with Mr. Ware participating in the vote. He actually cannot participate in this meeting, so you'll need to clarify that record.
That's correct. We do have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do have 7 votes for our board, so I think we're okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank
Yeah,
you.
You can just tabulate the vote with Mr. Ware in absentia.
Right. And should we then take Mr. Ware out of being in attendance?
Yes, yes, Honorable Chair. And I'm sorry, I could not hear you all. So
No,
there
it's
was
my
no
fault.
sound. So yeah, I didn't know. I meant to say that right off the bat to make sure we had that. And I hope all the commissioners understand this is not a disrespect thing. It's just what the Brown Act says. It's what the law says. I'm just the legal mind, and I'm trying to keep everybody straight and consistent with the Brown Act.
No, I really, really appreciate it. And actually, I apologize. I didn't catch that and I was reminded. So my apologies. All right. Yeah. Okay. With that, we're going to go on to B, and thank you again for both of you reminding me about that. So update on SB 519, Mr. Parker. And we do have speakers after you.
You want to do after Chair Delaney, or do you want to do? before?
Let's do before.
We have.
After?
After.
Okay.
the
I hear
audience-
you.
The audience
Okay.
has spoken. All right, so SB 519, an update for that. As you remember, Senate Pro Tem President Tony Atkins put forward Senate Bill 519 a couple of months ago, in reference a couple of issues. The primary issues were to basically increase the transparency to allow for the release of certain records to make it applicable to this meeting and to what we have jurisdiction over, something similar to the Critical Incident Review Board reports that the Sheriff's Department has said are attorney-client privileged until recently being told that they must release these by a court, by a judge. That's still in progress right now. However, that's really the crux of 519, to have some transparency in reference to the investigations of in-custody deaths. That's the main part. The other part was there was some ancillary stuff about some verbiage, but the main other part was to allow for counties to give them the authority to create a Department of Corrections to basically run the county jails if the county so desires. So at this point, the bill has made it through several committees and whatnot, and now that it is set for a hearing on July 11th in Sacramento. I will, based on this board's actions from before, I will be heading up to Sacramento on July 11th. And if need be, to basically say what I said when you folks gave me the permission to go and say what I said. Nothing else has changed. So I'm going to be doing that. That's the update as well. That is the day of the board meeting. So I'm going to try and get up there and get back, or something. I don't know. I'll be in two places at once, figure it out. I may have to virtually come for the July 11th meeting. But that is the update. The main part is July 11th in Sacramento at 9 a.m. There will be a hearing on SB 519. So with that, any questions from me before I turn it over to the public speakers?
First of all, we need your microphone on, just that, no, the question, it's okay. The question is our position. We do not have a position right now. We're waiting for updates, and we'll revisit this at the appropriate time. Okay.
And the updates that basically this board were looking to receive, I think the main concern that this board had about the Department of Corrections component, if I understood it, was the primary thing was whether or not a private company would be able to come in and run those jails, right? If that would be an option. And my understanding is that there's concern at that level as well. And that's being addressed somehow, some way. So with that, you folks are not the only people concerned about that. That's the only update that I have for you right now, Vice Chair.
I'm sorry, Paul, can you clarify what the hearing is that you're going to participate in on July 11th? Because I just am trying to understand when it would be an appropriate time for us to take a position if we decide to do that, given the timing of the bill.
Quite frankly, you would know better about these processes. All that I know is that it's a hearing. Yes, ma'am. Ms.
It says here that the status is that it's going to the Assembly Public Safety Committee.
Okay.
So already went through the first House and Senate.
Okay. So for everyone's sake, committees of jurisdiction, depending on what the legislation is, there are various committees of jurisdiction. There could be 3, there could be 4, there could be 1. So I don't know. It sounds like there's already been 1 committee hearing and this is the 2nd committee hearing. I don't know if there's another one. This is the 3rd. So there would still be an opportunity for us to weigh in before it went to the full legislature.
Thank you for that clarification. So with that, I'll be heading to Sacramento still, but that's the update that we have. May I turn it over to public speaker?
Yeah, I just want to let you know that at our July meeting, if you can, you will give us an update. We won't take any action at that time, but he will be giving us an update, and at a later time, whenever that might be, we can re-agendize it if necessary.
Thank you.
Okay,
Chair
and we'll go
Delaney.
to speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we have 3 requests to speak on this item. Paloma Serna.
Thank you, board members, for letting me speak once again before you. Thank you, board members, for letting me speak before you once again. I really encourage and hope that this SB 519 will go through. We need it passed. It is, I would consider an emergency. I mean, I'm sure you're all aware that there was 4 deaths, in the last 2 months. And, it's very important for us to have transparency from the San Diego sheriff, from the jail, everyone who's involved, and I know, the bill is, they want to create a department to run the jail, in which I don't really know about the private, too much about those companies' business. But I think anything would be better than the San Diego sheriff. I'm sure you're well aware that we've been sitting all week in the preliminary hearing for my daughter's death, and we're still are finding out new evidence that we have never even seen. I think even additional videos that we have not, seen. And it's because it's in a preliminary hearing. I mean, it's through a criminal, it's criminally that, for us, it is, I'm sorry, it has to be at this point, at this, at criminal point, I guess, for us to even get even the information we have now, because otherwise we would have we're very limited to that. Transparency is very important. Even right now, what's being said in the preliminary hearing is even my daughter's death. It looks like she died in a positional asphyxiation. And so that's what it's looking towards, but still, we need help. Like I said, we have 4 deaths in 2 months. I really do encourage and hope that you could really push and be really open-minded about the SB 519. I appreciate you for hearing us once again, and I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next in-person speaker will be Sabrina Weddle.
Hello, how are you guys tonight? Again, my name's Sabrina Weddle. I'm here in regards to represent for Saxon Rodriguez. I brought a guest today, my son. I just wanted to say, for SB 519 in regards to transparency, it's definitely needed. We've had 2 deaths in the last 3 days. That means 2 families have to now bury their, I know it was a 66-year-old and a 27-year-old. So 2 families have to now bury their family members and probably have little to no answers. I know both people were transferred to the hospital where they died. And I just want to know, the 27-year-old is actually somebody who is all on my Instagram feed, Facebook feed. And I just want to state, whether it was an overdose or a suicide, they stand hand in hand. The sheriffs were responsible. And Paul, I'm sure you've been very busy. 2 deaths in the last 3 days. I really hope that you get some rest, but I also pray that these families get the answers that I have yet to get. Saxon turns 24 on the 1st. 19 days later, I'll be celebrating his heavenly going away. On top of it, I have now extended the invite to the family members that died just in the last 2 days. There's going to be more people here. Change needs to happen. The San Diego sheriff sucks, clearly. Kelly Martinez needs to get a handle on it. And again, like Paloma said, she's sitting on a preliminary hearing. That's probably going to go to criminal trial because the people that were responsible for her daughter were criminals. They allowed her to die. The transparency that we're finally seeing in this case needs to continue to happen. It's getting ridiculous. And to sit here and have to talk about this in front of my 9-year-old because it's a Thursday. It's sickening. I cried at work today because that 27-year-old, I know about that 3 days ago when he was in the hospital. His parents had to lay by his side and say goodbye. And I can't even imagine if I had to do that with Saxon. I'm glad, and it's wrong to say, but I'm glad that he died on the floor of the jail, because I know that San Diego sheriffs are also trying to claim his body. And so when they come out, oh, we transported him to the hospital, we did all that we could, but when they claim his body, it's their death too. And I'll be here on the 11th, and that's right in between my brother's birthday and anniversary, and I might even fly to Sacramento so we can coordinate what you want to do. But this is ridiculous. And I'm glad that we can laugh real quick. But again, this is bullshit. 3 deaths in 2 days? Back to back. And now I know they're about to claim, oh, the 66-year-old was old, whatever. Oh, well, then what the hell is he going to jail for? I'm so sorry. And you look good. And you look good. Y'all look good. But you better tell the San Diego sheriffs when that his medical history and he should have been at the hospital and died. And I think in the book.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
And I want to tell your son, thank you for taking care of your mom. Good kid.
Thank you. Mr.
I love your smile, by the way.
Mr. Miller.
Let me get into character. My name is Yusef Miller. I'm with the North County Equity and Justice Coalition, the Saving Lives in Custody campaign, and we are in full support of SB 519 with some amendments, of course, with some, when we talked about the increased transparency, we're 110% for that, as you've heard from our family members and other family members who are going through to this date, don't know much, that they couldn't just get offline or out of a newspaper about their loved one. I know as much about their loved one as they do in their loss of life. Transparency is critical because no transparency causes insult to injury. They continue to suffer as they're still asking the question, why, as they're in pain for their loved one. Department of Corrections. We're for the department, a different entity besides the sheriff department, as long as it doesn't exorbitantly raise the budget of law enforcement. We're not for increasing the size and the footprint of law enforcement. We think it needs to go the opposite way. And if Department of Corrections has someone in charge, the leadership should be experienced and has a track record of decarceration, alternatives to incarceration, making our incarcerated population smaller. This is the right type of talent we need when we're talking about the head of jails, is to have this alternatives to incarceration. We can't afford to get this wrong. We can't afford to get 519 wrong. We can't afford to get AB 268 wrong, because we're in a crisis in San Diego. We're in a huge crisis. We're at 8 deaths this year. Last year, when we broke our record, we were at 10 at this month. At this month, last year, when we broke our record, we were at 10 deaths. This year, we're at 8. We're in crisis. People are suffering. People are losing their lives unnecessarily. And if it wasn't unnecessary, we wouldn't really be here today. If it was something understandable, we're talking about preventable deaths. Elisa Serna was preventable. Saxon Rodriguez was preventable. He was number 7 last year. Saxon Rodriguez was preventable. Gilbert Gill, preventable. Matthew Settles, preventable. Raymond Vogelman, preventable. Omar Arroyo, Moreno Arroyo, preventable. Paul Silva, preventable. So many other names, preventable. That all of these families who couldn't make it here today in person, who are probably online, and those we don't know about, many of their lives could have been saved if we had compassion in our jails, if we didn't have a culture of neglect. And we're hearing now, we're going through the case of the neglect of Elisa Serna that ended in her life being cut short. Her family is without her. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. And also I want to mention that the Board of Supervisors just recently, I believe it voted in favor of alternatives to incarceration, drugs, alcohol, mental illness and all that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that, how that works. Appreciate your comments. Thank you. Do we have anyone else, Mr.
Secretary Lane,
Parker?
we have 3 requests to speak online.
Okay.
Leslie Crawford, are you there?
Yes, sir, and I won't take 3 minutes. I'm here because I haven't been able to support Yusuf Miller and all the wonderful people who go out and try to get some public notice on this. I just want to say I'm supporting SB 519 and I support Yusuf Miller and all his work. Raymond Vogelman, number 19, 10/5/22, and I know nothing. My health has prevented me from going out there personally in the field, but I just wanted to put my voice in, and that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will go to Marcus Boyd. Marcus Boyd?
Yes, good evening. Thank you very much for letting me speak. I wanted to offer unfortunately, I have to state it like this, a live account of the mistreatment of individuals in county jail. Last year, around this time, I was unfortunately illegally arrested in Imperial Beach by a sergeant. It was televised in some news, and a lawsuit was filed at the beginning of this year. I'm still drafting the complaint to send to you because I don't want to miss anything. And the complaint is a couple of folds. So the first complaint would be regarding the sergeant, but that has nothing to do with this. My second complaint is the jail and the conditions of the jail and the need, of course, for the Senate bill. Increased transparency, however, without increased accountability provides kind of a poison pill. So in the jail, I visited 3 cells in my time spent in the intake and final release. The first 2 cells did not have a working toilet. The toilet was overflowed, and there was no place for anyone to sit down, and people were using the toilet, using the bathroom next to the toilet. And the third cell, and in those first 2 cells, there were 3 phones, but only 1 phone would work. And they give you a certain number that you have to dial in order to dial out. The sheriff on my intake tells me, don't give anybody your number. But once I'm inside, they tell me, borrow somebody else's number to try to make a call. And then by the second cell, when I do have a number, only 1 phone works, but there's a drunk person in the cell and he won't let anybody use the phone. So in order to use it, I would have to fight, die possibly. In the third cell was the release cell. There was, after pressing the button 4 times, no response from anybody. There was no camera. I was held there for around 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. I was freezing. I am a disabled vet, and I was there illegally on top of it all. So I could have died, and I didn't even have a reason to be there. This must be fixed with every Senate bill possible until it's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Next, we will go to, bear with me for a second. I believe it's going to be Jennifer Schmidt. Ms. Schmidt, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna make this quick because I just ditched my class to come and talk. I am in complete support of this bill. My dad also was in jail for an illegal arrest, completely preventable. Same with Saxon Rodriguez, same with Alyssa Sarna, same with Settles, Volgerman, everybody. Kevin Mills, and I am complete support of this bill. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can go right now.
Chair Delaney, it appears that we have no other requests to speak.
Okay, thank you. And just for the record, so that you know, we will be starting our jail inspections in the next several months. Mr. Parker, would you like to address that at all?
Mr. Bennett, am I permitted to do so?
Honorable Chair and Executive Officer, a brief discussion in terms of follow-up direction is permissible under the Brown Act, so you can make brief comments in response to the chair's input.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett, and thank you, Chair Delaney. We have been afforded a position, an additional position, a special investigator position that will be used specifically to conduct, solely responsible for conducting detention facility inspections of the adult detention facilities operated by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. We're going to go through the process, obviously, to do the hiring and train that person, but then we anticipate starting those facility inspections as soon as we get someone up and running. And you know, I know that the county, the Finance and General Government Group leadership fully supports helping us get that person on board and up and running as soon as possible. So I'll provide updates as we move forward over the next month or two.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. You know what? Because it's not an agenda item, we can't really. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. With that, go to number 3, which is the CLERB meeting calendar. Just want to make sure you know July 11th, August 15. Bonnie, did you have a question?
The November date. There will be several of us missing on that date.
I think when it gets closer to that, I think we'll have to change that date because they will be at the national conference in Chicago. So we'll
Yes.
revise that. But other than that, please mark your calendars. Okay. And with that, thank you, public, for attending. We really appreciate. Always good to hear from you. I'm sorry for the circumstances, but thank you very much. Council, could you please read us into closed session, please?
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. There will be 2 recommended closed session items. The first one would be to discuss public employee performance. Well, actually, that's the second item. But the first item would be to discuss matters that are deemed confidential under Penal Code Section 832.5 through 832.8 relative to employee conduct, complaints, etc. The second item would be to discuss public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54.957, and the employee to be discussed under that item to the extent the board deems it appropriate would be the executive director. That would be the recommended closed session items.
Thank you. Council, can Pastor Spriggs wanted to make a comment. Is that okay at this point?
Sure, sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to say, my time of serving with CLERB has come to an end. I've been thinking about this for a while. I want to say to the family of Elisa Cerna and the family of Saxon Rodriguez, I am sorry for your loss. I feel like it is time for me to be back on that side with the community which I serve as a pastor. I believe Ms. Kink is going to do a wonderful job as a secretary. So with that being said, thank you all for allowing me to serve. I've served for 6 years. I served the last 2 years as a secretary, but I believe it's time for me to move forward. So thank you all for allowing me to serve in the community in this position. Thank you.
Pastor Spriggs, am I to understand that you will not be continuing until we get a replacement?
I will continue, but as far as I have to take a step back. So I will continue until you find someone,
Okay,
but
great.
I just want to openly say that to the public. So if you don't see me at all of the meetings, you'll know why, because I'm trying to scale back because I have, yeah.
Okay, well,
So,
thank you so much for your
thank you.
service. And again, thank you for being our secretary for the last 2 years. With that, we're going to take a 10-minute break and then we will resume our closed session. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.